in this lesson, we'll go ahead and start adding some of the features to our face. So, the first thing that I want to do is actually add, a proper lip here with the Damien Standard brush, a nose, all that stuff. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut in the mouth there with the Damien Standard brush. I'm just going to inflate it so that the lips actually come out together. And as you can see, when you have the actual spotlight image up, the only brush that you can use on your model is the Move tool. So be aware of that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use the trim dynamic here and just sort of give myself a taper toward the temporal side of his skull there, using the temporal bone and temporal muscle. So I'm going to make sure it's a little bit flatter. And I'm just going to adjust the shapes here as I see fit. So just lowering the ears, getting a good look at everything, just, looking on the right, changing anything that needs to be changed on the left. But now it's time for us to sort of add our eyes in there. So ideally here, you're just looking to add some eyelids. Nothing fancy, as well as we're going to do the same thing for the nose, and we're going to do a little bit more work on the lips. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull out some of the detail there onto the nose and eye area just to create that nice little cavity. And I'm just going to separate it there as best as I can. And I'm going to pull out with the Damien Standard brush just one lid after the other. So I'm going to get a smaller brush here and just make one lid. And then I'll just make a second lid. There we go. Now what we do is we just move these around so that you remember that the eye is actually a spherical thing. So your eyeball is a sphere. That means that the eyelid is skin in a spherical shape that is sort of hugging your eyeball. So if you don't look at it from above or below and make sure that it looks like a round sphere, then it will never look right. So again, just adding here some things that I remember from the reference, that little indentation of the forehead, the little curve on the nose, all that stuff, just so we kind of have it out of the way. And again, it's not going to be perfect starting out. It's not the point of this. We're going to really get to refining it in the coming lessons, but for now, we just need something to work with. We need polygons that look like a nose so that we can adjust that nose when it comes time to sculpt his. Now, the nose itself is going to be a little bit of a complicated subject to tackle because he has a very complex looking nose, but for now, you don't really need to do very much with it. As you can see, just using the standard brush, using the move brush, and just digging in the holes and moving in the nostrils, as you can see, just getting an idea of, okay, this is more or less the shape of his nose. We're not going to be, very precise with it right now, but, we inflate it and it looks good and close enough, right? So it's pretty much where we can sort of leave it. He has sort of a very thick nose at the bottom, but it kind of thins out at the top. We don't want to get bogged down too much by details here, but as you can see, using the Damien Standard brush here and digging in the nose really helps to define those nostrils. And now I can kind of make sure that the septum here looks pretty clean and thin as well. And I'm even going to divide a little bit more just so that I can really start to get some more definition going on this whole model. So again, just make sure that you're not really worried about perfection right now. That's definitely not what you're looking for. And I'm just going to dig in the ears here. Not going to worry about how it's supposed to look. Again, just digging it in, bringing out the helix and the anti-helix, digging in the ear hole, a little bit of the lobe, and there we go. So it's going to look a little bit weird for now, but there's just a couple of features here that we can adjust, and it just makes it easy on us later on, because you sort of have a little bit of a specific amount of detail that you can alter later on. You're sort of leaving yourself clues and notes later on that this is how you want to do it. And again, we go back to our baseline image here, our reference, and we'll take a look. Are we close? Are we far? How are we looking? And as you can see, we're definitely a little bit far now. So we can lower this a little bit here and just kind of adjust everything as much as we can. So there we go. And move down the lips here, and I'll be able to recut those and push those forward as well. Haven't really given that much attention to the lips. We'll go ahead and do that in a second here. But for now, just adjusting it. And again, remember, this isn't a symmetrical face, but we can kind of get there. And that's what's important. If we can kind of get there, when it comes time to change when it comes time to add the asymmetry, it'll be so much easier. So again, just moving it, inflating the ears now, making sure they look nice. Now is not the time to break the symmetry on the ears, so don't worry about that. As you can see, I'm just adding here the forehead, making sure that I mask out the eyes and push them to the right position. You can see we can really use that guideline there to help us out. And his nose is a little bit thick, but we can thin it out as well. So there we go. That's our base, and again, it isn't going to look pretty for the start, but we have eyes, we have a nose, and our ears just need to be a little bit adjusted here. So I'm going to go ahead and refine those. Make sure to pull out that helix there. There we go. Not too bad. And I'm going to cut it all on the back here with the Damien Standard brush. That way I can kind of use the clay brush here and just remove all that volume and just kind of smooth it out. And as you can see, really easily fixed it there. Now my eyelids got a little bit mushed there, so I'm going to go back to that in a second here, which needs to be adjusted. Moving the neck outside, getting that jaw to look better. Just connecting everything that we can in order to make it look better. A little bit of the cheekbones here, just adding some landmarks, just some very, very basic shapes. And as you can see, my eyes aren't looking that good, so I'm going to dig those in, and I'm going to remake these. So, easiest way, again, Damien Standard, pull it out, make sure it looks nice, and then do the same thing for the bottom. And then you can use the move tool and sort of adjust their shape and position without too much worry. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to lower these eyebrows, because remember, we do have skin that goes right on top of there. So remember that the eye is a spherical shape and you can see it from the side. Just make sure that the top lid is a little bit farther forward than the lower lid. And yeah, I mean, this is all that we want to do. Just really basic stuff. Just changing all these little tiny planes and profile shapes, all that stuff. So make sure you go ahead and just kind of get yourself a rough schematic going, and we'll continue in the next lesson refining one piece at a time. I'll see you guys there.